Really, from I was a tiny child, I always loved teaching. I used to be the organiser with my group of friends, and I was, of course, always the teacher because I was the one that had all the ideas and just something in me. I absolutely loved getting kids to do things that being a bit bossy actually, but also just seeing them learn something. So I loved teaching. And then as I got older, that was definitely what I was going to do, but then I also considered social work. So I suppose I always went to the kind of caring profession. If it wasn't going to be teaching, it was going to be social work. And there's something very ironic as well in this thing that as a little girl I was so quiet, and then I ended up having a career that completely involved talking, teaching French. It was all about speaking the language. Being shy and not being able to express yourself is definitely a negative. However, along with it goes your sort of ability to analyse things and understand other people's emotions and be aware of people's sensitivities and therefore react positively and encouragingly with those people. I think I was pretty aware, probably more aware than certain other people, of the quieter and shyer and more uncomfortable pupils in the group, and certainly tried in every way I could to make them feel more at ease and therefore more able to participate. When you're quiet, you know what it's like having to speak, and I think that was a very good I had insights into how it felt for kids, poor them, having to squirm in their speaking tests. As a child, when I was out and about with my mum in Belfast, and she would stop and people as normal would say hello and try to get me to talk, and I literally couldn't get a word to come out of my mouth, and I would be thinking in my head, oh, just open your mouth and speak. You want to speak, you've got lots of things to say, but I couldn't for whatever reason. I was so painfully shy. And then people would say, oh, it's the wee shy one, which was just so annoying. But in almost every case, again, I couldn't open my mouth to actually say anything of interest or at all. And then as I got older, this became worse at sort of teenage years, when anybody in school, teachers, asked me a question, I used to go bright red, absolutely bright red. And then that was another thing that made it even more difficult to talk. Anyway, a few little milestones I can remember, which I think would be an interesting thing to mention. One thing I remember at school, primary school, we had a choir and they were doing a performance. Now, I couldn't sing, but we all had to get up there and do it. And I just remember that lovely feeling of being part of something and contributing to something that overall sounded great. And we actually put on a performance. It was the only concert I ever did in my whole of the primary school years. And standing up there with your little dress on and your hair all in ponytails and feeling all great. I think I was in the front row because I was quite small. And then all that applause coming back. And it's amazing, actually. It's so important to get involved in things, because I was by no means a good singer and it was my whole class. But when that applause came out, it was like it was all for me. That great feeling of confidence that you get just from doing something and getting involved and making something lovely. Similar to that, I used to go to Irish dancing lessons, and I was actually quite good at Irish dancing. And I remember again winning a medal. That time it was for the 6-hand reel. Then we moved house. We were too far away, and unfortunately I had to give up because nobody could get me to the lessons. So that was the end of that. You asked me about how my confidence grew, whether it was deliberate or just with time. I think it was probably a combination of the two, but what I certainly am aware of is that the more you push yourself to do things that you don't want to, or you feel a bit shy about, or lacking in confidence, the better it ultimately is. Like, I remember going to this disco. It was a disco we used to go to at the primary school. even though I was about 13. And there was a boy I fancied like mad. He didn't even know I existed, but he lived in my kind of area. And I remember walking down. Now, all my friends used to come from another part of Belfast, so they were able to go to the disco together. But because of where I lived, I had to walk on my own and arrive on my own and all of that. And I remember seeing this boy one day with his pals just ahead of me, and he was clearly going to the same disco. And I thought, this was me trying to be brave. I thought, right, I'm going to speak to him. Imagine, a boy. So I plucked up my courage and said, so hello, are you going to the disco too? Or something really normal but stupid like that. And he was going to say something, and then his pal said, oh my God, you're not going to go with that old, what did he say, that old fuzz head? Because I had madly curly hair at the time. And my whole insides just went, oh my God, mortification, bright red and all the rest of it. So anyway, what could I do? I had to walk on with their eyes burning into the back of my head. Off I went, but instead, and I was mortified, really embarrassed, but I just thought, right, what a shite, terrible. And somehow, anyway, that kind of thing just helped me to go on and just say, well, his loss, and I'm going to go. Anyway, needless to say, I didn't really get talking to that boy again, and hated whoever his friend was for the rest of my life. But anyway, that was one of the knockbacks, but didn't put me off. And I don't know, I just sort of managed to then, there were lots of other missed opportunities from being so shy. But I just started to, I don't know, just go for it, and I suppose develop this confidence, this ability to get on. And also I think key is just having friends as well, you know, even if you're not the center of attraction and the center of attention, rather, it doesn't matter. You've got so much to contribute. Of course, with studying languages comes the opportunity to travel. I remember as a student hitchhiking from my front door actually, with a friend, hitchhiking to Dublin Airport, getting a flight to Paris, hitchhiking down to the south for my first summer job abroad, which was working in a ski resort. Various jobs there, waitressing, a hotel work, and that was great, absolutely great. I think that the confidence was in there. It was just finding ways of bringing it out. My dad used to tell us that one thing to do was to do your own thing, and absolutely, definitely never follow the crowd. And this was kind of important for us, particularly growing up in Belfast during the Troubles, when lots of people of my age were kids, adolescents, out in the street throwing petrol bombs and getting involved in paramilitaries and all the rest of it. That was one of the things, but it was always also just even down to the smallest things. You just do your own thing, and if other people are doing something, you know it's not right, you know it's not for you, just don't follow the crowd. And I think it's a great piece of advice.